All right, before we get too deep, let me be blunt with you. This one hits like both a sour and a sweet note at the same time. You're a Cowboys fan, so you already know the feeling. Hopeful 1 minute, frustrated the next. Today's practice squad moves make that point loud and clear. Patrick Walker's report gives us 15 of the 17 names likely to be on the practice squad, and honestly, there are some welcome returns. Justin Barron, Jalen Brooks, Ernest Brown, Sadiq Charles, Jaron Christian, Elijah Clark, Jalen Crabhopper, Malik Davis, Ronaldo Farweather, Princeton Font, Will Greer, Keen Hall, Trashawn Holden, Buddy Johnson, and Robert Rochelle. C.J. Goodwin is expected to re-sign too, which probably finishes up that puzzle piece in the next day or so. That list tells you two things at once. The Cowboys are protecting developmental pieces they like, and they're keeping flexibility for movable parts. For you, that means depth, special teams options, and some upside waiting in the wings. Now, the stuff that stings, the team cut Andrew Booth and Zion Childress. Booth's release draws a lot of relief from the fan base. I get it. You wanted that experiment to end. But Zion's release? That one's a head-scratcher for a lot of us. In the tape, he's a reliable tackler, a gritty presence in the secondary, and the kind of guy who can win you a roster spot by being tough on special teams and consistent in run support. If you're thinking like me, you're asking why we gave another team the chance to pick him up. I want you to tell me in the comments, do you think Zion should stay on the practice squad? Yes or no? Hit the like if you agree he's worth keeping. On the flip side, the re-signing that really got me pumped was Trashawn Holden. The host calls it a W, and honestly I do too. He's back in Dallas, and whether that's for special teams or a developmental receiver role, he brings something meaningful. Toughness, hands, and a willingness to play physical. The transcript even teased that 80-ball line from him. Not sure if that's a number or attitude, but either way, it signals confidence. Let's also not gloss over the QB depth moves. They added Turkas Bridges and Reddy Stewart, and Bridges in particular brings length and tackling instincts if the Cowboys choose to flip him into a defensive role. Quick poll for you while you're watching. Do you approve of the Cowboys practice squad setup today? Type yes or no right now in the comments. And if you want this channel to keep breaking down these moves live and fast, make sure you hit subscribe. We're pushing to 16,000 subscribers, and every new sub helps the coverage get better. Ready for more? I'll break down Zion's situation deeper next, but before that, tell me in one line, would you rather the Cowboys keep Zion or roll forward without him? Now let's dive into Zion Childress, because this one really deserves a closer look. The Cowboys released him, and honestly, it doesn't sit right with a lot of us. This isn't just a random cut. Zion has shown himself to be a tackling machine. On film, he's reliable in open space, wraps up well, and brings that kind of physicality every team loves, especially in a secondary that sometimes struggles against bigger, faster receivers. Beyond the stats, it's about attitude and instinct. Zion's the kind of player who reads the play fast, reacts decisively, and rarely overcommits in a way that leaves gaps. That's a skill you don't find on every undrafted or practice squad guy. So why release him? That's the question a lot of fans are asking. Depth concerns, scheme fit, and flexibility may have played a part, but the truth is, letting him go gives another team a chance to grab a talent that could easily contribute in special teams or step up in case of injury. From a long-term perspective, that's risky. He could end up being a player the Cowboys regret losing if injuries strike or if the secondary depth doesn't hold up. Here's the upside, though. There's a good chance he could return to the practice squad. That's where he can continue to develop, get reps, and be ready when called upon. If he does come back, he strengthens the defensive backroom immediately, someone who can tackle consistently, read the quarterback, and even mentor younger corners in certain situations. I want to hear from you right now. If you could keep only one young defensive back on the practice squad, who would it be? Drop your answer in the comments. It's always Fascinating to see what the fan base thinks. And while you're at it, hit that like button if you agree Zion should stay on the Cowboys' radar. This chapter really highlights a key challenge for the team: balancing developmental talent with roster limits and strategic priorities. Zion Childress is the perfect example of a young player caught in that balance. He's capable, he's proven on tape, and he deserves a chance to grow in Dallas. Keep that in mind, because in the next chapter, we'll switch gears and talk about a player who's already back on the roster and why his return is considered a solid win: Trashawn Holden. All right, let's talk about Trashawn Holden, because his return to Dallas is a move that fans can actually celebrate. The host called it a W, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. Having Holden back gives the Cowboys flexibility and depth in multiple areas. He's not just another body, he's a player who has shown toughness, solid hands, and a willingness to compete, whether it's on special teams or lining up at receiver in specific packages. That kind of versatility is exactly what a team needs when you're dealing with injuries or trying to develop young talent without compromising your main roster. Now, there was that mysterious 80 ball comment in the transcript. We're not entirely sure if that's his new jersey number or a reflection of his contract, but either way, it signals confidence. Holden is coming back with a sense of purpose, and that's exactly the mindset the Cowboys want in a player who might be asked to do a little bit of everything. Think of him as a Swiss Army knife for the team, someone who can contribute in multiple ways and bring a reliable presence to the field. From a strategic standpoint, Holden's signing also sends a message. The Cowboys value players who have proven themselves and are ready to step up. Unlike some experimental cuts that haven't worked in the past, bringing him back is about stabilizing the depth chart and ensuring that the team has dependable options in critical spots. And let's be honest, for fans who are watching every practice, it's encouraging to see a player with real potential and energy return to the squad. So here's a question for you while we're breaking this down. Do you think Holden has what it takes to stick on the 53-man roster this year, or will he stay primarily on the practice squad? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. And don't forget, if you enjoy this kind of detailed breakdown, make sure to subscribe. We're pushing towards 16,000 subscribers, and every new sub helps us keep this coverage sharp and fast. Next up, we're going to shift focus to the new cornerback depth the Cowboys are adding, specifically Turkas Bridges and what he can bring to the table. But before that, think about Holden and how his return might change the dynamics on both special teams and the offensive depth chart. That's an underrated story in today's moves, and it's worth paying attention to as we evaluate the bigger picture. Now let's break down Turkas Bridges, one of the new faces on the Cowboys roster, and what he brings to the table. Bridges is a 6'2", 200-pound athlete who was a 7th-round pick out of Florida. He's known for being a reliable tackler in open space and for bringing relentless effort on every single play, the kind of player who doesn't take a single snap off, which is exactly what the Cowboys want from someone contributing at the bottom of the depth chart. During the preseason, he showed some flashes of skill, particularly in run support and open field tackling. On tape, you can see his ability to close on the ball quickly, wrap up, and not be afraid to go physical with the opponent. Those traits make him a potential fit in dime packages or as a situational defender if the team decides to utilize his length and athleticism strategically. That said, the coverage game is where he still has work to do. In some preseason plays, he struggled with man-to-man assignments and allowed big completions against faster receivers. His stats, 12 catches for 212 yards and 1 touchdown on just 16 targets, aren't ideal, but preseason stats can be misleading. This is a development player, someone who can grow into a reliable contributor if given the right coaching and reps in practice. Looking at the depth chart, Bridges likely slots in behind the starting corners and safeties. Think Trayvon Diggs, Dante Bland, Kyrie Elam. The Cowboys and the league currently list him as a defensive end, which calculates his salary at $21,324 million. Parsons, however, believes he should be classified as a linebacker, which bumps that number up to around $24 million. That difference might seem small in the grand scheme of the NFL, but for a player of Parsons' caliber, it's significant. The tension comes not just from the numbers, but also the narrative. Parsons has often talked about valuing football over money, leaving fans scratching their heads when he suddenly files a grievance over the fifth-year option. It creates a perception of hypocrisy, even though any player deserves to get what they've earned. And the reality is that this isn't a grievance against the Cowboys, it's with the NFL itself. The league is the entity that determines the official position for calculating fifth-year salaries, and in a 4-3 defensive scheme like Dallas runs, Parsons lining up on the edge makes him a defensive end in practice, even if his skill set overlaps with linebacker responsibilities. Parsons' career accomplishments are undeniable. Defensive Rookie of the Year, multiple Pro Bowls, and All-Pro honors. Yet the inconsistency in position labeling has created this mess. The grievance will ultimately come down to the collective bargaining agreement, analyzing the plays in which he participated, and whether they qualify him as a linebacker or defensive end. For fans, it's frustrating, but it's part of the business side of the NFL, one of those stories that keeps the off-season news cycle busy. Here's my question for you. Do you side with Micah on this one, thinking he deserves the higher salary, or with the NFL's classification? Drop your answer in the comments in one line. I want to see how Cowboys fans weigh in. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. We're pushing to 16,000 subscribers, and every new sub helps us break stories like this fast. With the practice squad moves, the additions of Bridges and Stewart, Trashawn Holden back in town, and Parsons' contract drama, the Cowboys are showing how complex roster management really is. Keep watching this space. There's always more to come.